Stay tuned for a flip through of 4 of the most popular books used to teach children how to read. Hi everybody, welcome back to Project Happy Home. For those of you who don't know, I'm Tanya, an MD-JD turned homeschooling mom of 3 kids ages 7, 4, and 2. I have all 4 of these books and I bought them all from a thrift store. 1, because I have a little bit of a thrifting problem, but 2, because I really didn't know which one my child would resonate with or which one would work for them. My eldest was one of those kids who just taught himself how to read. I couldn't really take any credit for that because I think he just followed along with the words as we read to him all throughout the day and at night, and he just picked it up quite quickly. My daughter, on the other hand, my current 4-year-old, is not picking up reading as quickly as he did or as naturally, and that's fine, but I wanted to see what kind of book would work for her the best. The one we're using right now is Teach Your Child to Read in 100 Easy Lessons, as well as the reading lesson, and I will explain how we use them in a separate video where I discuss our reading program for her in pre-K. I haven't used the Phonics Pathways at all. I mean, I haven't even really opened it beyond the original flip through. And the Ordinary Parent's Guide to Teaching Reading is not really my style or my daughter's. But I wanted to show you all of them because I really do think different kids are different and different parents are different, and we should try to make our approach fit both of us, both the teacher and the student, well. I'm going to start off with Teach Your Child to Read in 100 Easy Lessons because it's the one we've used the most and the one that she resonates with pretty well. Teach Your Child to Read in 100 Easy Lessons might actually be named Teach Your Child to Read in 100 Lessons because I don't know that it's so easy, but it is very short. It definitely does not take more than 15 or 20 minutes a day if your child is cooperative and in the mood. So they have all these explanations at the beginning on how to teach reading and what this method is about and how decoding works. And then they go through and have this pronunciation guide, which is actually kind of useful, especially when you do different sounds of letters. And a lot of the sounding out of words is presented in this manner, where you have a dot to start with, a dot under each separate sound. The child puts their finger or you put your finger on this dot and move along to the arrow. So they learn that as you touch each dot under, you say that sound. So me. And then the faster you get, the more it goes together. Me. Lesson 1 starts very simply, and it starts with M. And it's scripted, which I actually thought I wouldn't like, but I really do like because it makes you repeat yourself frequently. I think it's really helpful to her to have me say the instructions over and over again, and to also tell her exactly what the sound is that we're doing and remind her exactly what task we're working on right then. So every lesson in the book is organized in a similar manner where there's a series of tasks, and then each task has like a self-contained activity. So here really what you're working on is saying the M sound and the S sound for S. And the book is scripted all the way through, so the parent reads what's in red. It has instructions for what you're doing. For example, touch the first ball of the arrow, move quickly to the second ball, and hold in black. And then it says, your turn to say the sound when I touch under it. So it's very, very clear, and I'll say, touch the first ball. Then you say, get ready, and then you move, and hopefully they will say the sound. So what they say is in black. The lessons also have little boxes scattered throughout where it talks about how to correct if the child isn't actually doing what they're supposed to be doing. So you can say again, the sound is S, and then you repeat that step. I thought I would hate the scripted nature of this book, but I actually love it. I think it keeps me very patient, and it sort of instills in me this need to repeat myself all the way. So you don't just expect the child to get the routine the very first time. So you say new word, listen, if. New word, listen, me. Instead of me forgetting to say those things like new word and listen, this sort of tells me every time, say it fast, and then say it slow, and I don't get impatient because I forget to give her clear instructions. So I really appreciate that part of the book. Lesson 11, it always has sound reviews to begin with, which is really nice. And it sort of bounces back and forth between like newer things. So this is at lesson 13. So already by lesson 13, your child should be able to sound out meet, read, am, ram. There's a couple things that I like about this and a couple things I don't. Like, for example, here with read, it puts the letter you're not supposed to say in a smaller version, so the child learns that they're going to say read and not say the ah sound. I like that and I don't at the same time, because sometimes she'll see this word in something else and she won't know why the A is a normal size and why she doesn't have to read it then. So I kind of explain this separately from the book. The book doesn't address it at all. It just says you're not going to say the little letter. So I'll just flip through it randomly so you can see. I like that they have picture comprehension sections, and sometimes when they'll have a reading sentence, so here it says Sam is mad at me, they'll then get to the point where they'll ask, you just read Sam is mad at me. In the picture, you'll see why. And it sort of gives the child a reason to be curious about it. I kind of wish that the book was formatted so that this picture was on a different page. And what I've taken to doing is covering it up with a piece of paper or just a Post-it so that she can't really guess at the words here. So it goes right on through, following very much the same format all the way through. And by the time you get to, lesson 35, you're reading a cat sat on a little rug. The cat got mud on that rug. I imagine that if you have a very cooperative child, or if you have good days with that child, you can easily get through an entire lesson in about 20 minutes. We do that sometimes when my daughter is in a good mood and feeling confident. On other days, she's just tired and she doesn't feel like doing this repetitive kind of activity. And so we'll only do 1 or 2 or 3 tasks, and we'll just move it along at a slower pace. Although I really am looking forward to her learning how to read fluently, I'm also trying to be much more gentle in her progress, and I definitely don't want to derail her. I think she is a little bit perturbed that her brother reads so well and always has. I think she can remember when he was little and would be reading little books on his own, and I don't want to give her any discomfort with that. I don't want to make her feel worried about the fact that she can't read yet. So by the time you get to lesson 95, you're reading quite large words, really, and they should be able to read an entire page like this. So I am quite happy going at a very slow pace through this book, and hopefully we will finish out this book sometime at the end of kindergarten or even in the beginning of first grade. I'm really fine with it. The next book I'm going to talk about is the reading lesson, Teach Your Child to Read in 20 Easy Lessons. Although this book is very different than Teach Your Child to Read in 100 Easy Lessons, it's also formatted to follow the phonics method as opposed to the look and say method or whole word method of learning. So you have, these are the 20 lessons, and it goes through these different sounds. So lesson 1 is dealing with the C-O-S-A-T sound, and lesson 20 is the C, G, and PH. So it starts off with just alphabet sounds, and it goes through the words that will tell you the sound. I like that it shows you different sounds. So the long sound like old versus octopus, and they're both listed there. The first lesson starts with the 5 most commonly used letters in English, which are COSAT. They emphasize teaching the child that letters have both names as well as sounds. So there's C, but there's also K. And it talks about what a word is and what a sentence is, and it shows you, it goes through very slowly, very gently, the different sounds. It tells you to sound out all these letters. They also have these connecting the sound with the picture pages. I didn't have my child write in this because I want to reuse this book with her sister, so I'm hopefully going to keep it clean. I like that they go through very slowly. The pictures, the pages are not at all overwhelming to the child. There's very little on this page, unlike in Teach Your Child to Read in 100 Easy Lessons, which I think can be a little bit intimidating to a child to know that there's this much text and there's this much to do on the page. This is very simple. It's really easy to get through 1 page a day, especially if I sense that my daughter is not feeling particularly motivated. I will probably pull out this book as opposed to that book, and we kind of just follow along at where she is. And my daughter's at around this stage where she can sound out words, she can read 3-letter words, and she knows all her letter sounds pretty well. So this book really increases her confidence level. And it's a really simple way of teaching. I like that the sentences repeat a lot of the words that they've learned before, so they get to practice it. I like that occasionally they give you a little grammar lesson. So like, here's a comma. This means we should pause here, and you can teach the child about that. There's keywords, so they do teach sight words here. And again, the pages are so clear and easy to read and not overwhelming at all. There's definitely more words and more to read as you go along, which is just natural. It teaches you about pluralization, so you add an S and you get to learn more. I really like using this book in conjunction with Teach Your Child to Read in 100 Easy Lessons. When they teach new sounds, again, they keep it really simple and clear. This is the letter Y. It makes the Y sound as in yell. It also makes the I sound as in my. So 2 O's together make the sound oo as in moon. And then they have like important sight words, do and to. And then you go through and you have very similar activities again. So here you are at 14. And again, this is not meant to be done in 20 days. It really is meant to be done 1, 2, 3 pages at a time, depending on your child. I like that they have stories. And if you'll notice, by the time you get to around here in the book, the little underscores to separate the sounds are gone because your child should be able to read this a little bit more fluently at this point. I like that when they introduce sounds, they'll introduce a lot of words with that same sound. So the IGH sound is in a lot of these words. By the time you get to the last page, you should be able to read something like this, which is, I believe, a little bit more advanced than the very end of Teach Your Child to Read in 100 Easy Lessons, but pretty much the same level. There's a little progress chart here if your kid likes progress charts, and a certificate of achievement as well. The next book I'm going to be talking about is Phonics Pathways. I have the 9th edition. I don't know what edition they're up to now. Again, I bought this for about 50 cents from a thrift store. I thought, why not have another phonics book? This is behavior I am trying to correct, by the way. I do not advise buying things just because it's 50 cents. I have friends, though, who have mentioned that this is the book that they have used to teach their kids, and they very much liked it. So it's designed to teach not just one kid. I think a lot of teachers have used this particular program as well. So it can be adapted for a classroom setting. It talks about short vowel sounds first. So it talks about A, E, I, O, U and their short vowel sounds. And it talks about what the mark is. And it gets a little bit more into how to decode language in a more traditional way. So here's the S sound. It has different words with it. The is sound, and straight on down. And it has cute little things to read for them. So like the greatest book in the whole world begins with just one word, and that word begins with only one letter. And so did we begin with only one letter. Easy does it, slow but sure, we'll take one small step at a time. There's little reviews, so you have like games to play throughout. This is like a bingo game that you can play. And then there's exercises to blend sounds. So you're mixing the short vowel sounds with a consonant here. The sa, s, then they're mixing another consonant sound with it. And you'll notice there's games throughout here as well. So you can actually make a copy of this and cut out the letters. And they advise laminating it as well. And then you can blend the letters together. So you make the train come together to make a sound, and you can practice these. There's little reviews and there's games. On the backs of these pages are generally the games that you would copy and play. There's pages here which repeat those sound blends that you've learned with words that have them. And then simple sentences that include words with those sound blends. They tell you about ending sounds as well, like k, digraph endings, a review of short vowel sounds. You'll notice I'm not even halfway through this book and it's already got to a much more complex level than the other. This book is really designed to use a little bit at a time. It's not designed to just do a page a day of. You might stay on 1 or 2 pages for quite a while and just review that sound for a while. Like I said, this book reminds me of learning how to read in school a little bit more, because I remember my teachers having like sound blends and spending a week on like qu and spending a week on the CK sound and the BL sound. It goes through into long vowels then after short vowels and progresses at kind of the same style. So you can read down each column. I think it's a really good book if you want to test fluency with a child and know if they actually do know their digraphs now looking at it. And I might actually use this just as, for fluency practice, because in our homeschool, doing repetitive activities like this doesn't really fly very well. And then there's charts here as well. And this is a good way of teaching an older kid, especially like what the little symbols mean when you see this for it's a long vowel versus this for a short vowel. And it goes through different plurals. This might be a nice thing to put into an older student's binder just for them to have for review. Then there's a chart where it talks about exactly what type of skill is on what page and what date you started and what date you completed it, just to illustrate how they in no way mean for you to do this every single day. And then there's different games and activities you can play here, like the train game, the shoe fly shuffle, star search, and bag the bugs. And I think you can play these games on various different lessons in here. Last but not least is The Ordinary Parent's Guide to Teaching Reading. I really like a lot of things by Jessie Wise. I do not like this book. We enjoyed first language lessons, and I thought that I would like this. This book was just not a very good fit for us, and I can't tell you exactly why. One of the reasons I think is just because it didn't appeal to me as much. For this lesson, for example, short vowel sounds, you'll need a magnetic board with alphabet tiles, some index cards, paperclip yarn, magnets, and a dowel for a special activity. Oh, scissors, pens, pencils, drawing supplies. Similar to first language lessons, this book is scripted, and it talks about there are two different ways to write the little or lowercase a. You will need to know them both because different books print the a different ways. And then it shows both printings of an a, and then it again tells you what types of a's you'll see in this book versus a handwriting book. And then it just talks about, you'll usually say a as an apple. The letter A stands for the sound A. The short A is called the short A vowel sound, so the short a. Remember, the little a is written in two different ways, and then it just sort of repeats that concept. It has little vowels to read. So A is the first vowel we will say. A is the short vowel sound of A. And then they repeat it over and over again. My daughter hates it when I repeat things to her. So that was one reason why this just isn't a good fit for us. But if you like it and your child responds well to repetitiveness and is an auditory type of learner, this might be a great option for you guys. So lesson 2 goes into the vowel E, then the vowel I, the vowel O. And similar to Phonics Pathways and Teach Your Child to Read, and all of them really, you're not meant to rush through these books. They in no way imply that you can do a lesson a day. You might have to do the lesson and then repeat it a few times, and you should sort of wait for mastery until you keep going. So after the vowels, it goes on to consonant sounds, and so on and so forth. It goes into the consonant K, and then it says here, like, the child should repeat the J line from the poem 2 more times during the day. Point out the letter J to the child whenever you see it. I think part of this is just common sense. I think as you teach your child phonics and how to read, that kind of naturally happens. B stands for B in bat. C stands for K in cat, and so on and so forth. Some of these could be fun, and looking at it now, I might actually want to do some of these little rhymes with my child, but repeating things 3 times just doesn't work for us. So by lesson 34, you're doing words with the short I vowel sound, like pin, tin, win, fin. I do like how gentle this is. It's going nice and easy, and it definitely is staying within certain sound families and vowel families, more of that traditional format that you see in Phonics Pathways. By lesson 61 or so, you're into digraphs, like the ones that don't make sense, like W and F. I'll just flip through to show you some more of this book. I'm actually kind of glad that I have all 4 of these books because I can see that they all have merit in different ways, and they definitely do teach reading and phonics in different ways. And my daughter is a mercurial, lovely little creature who likes to do different things on different days, and I'm happy to have different options. So by the end of this book, you are at much larger words than any of the other books. You are at words like misunderstood and misspelled, and it definitely is dealing with prefixes and suffixes and letter pairs. So, for example, the last word in the book is supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. And it says, "This is the final lesson in this book. You are now a super reader. In fact, you are such a super reader that you can now read a 14-syllable word. This word does not mean anything. It is just a fun word from a song." And that might be a good opportunity to sing that song with your child. If anything, I like to review books like this with my daughter because it makes her feel a lot more confident to be able to do things really easily. So I like to layer books where we're doing, the first 10 lessons of one book, and then we go back and then we do the first 10 lessons in another book. So she has a really nice period of time where she feels super confident and the lesson moves very quickly. So these are all the books that I had to flip through for you. I hope you have a better understanding of what your child and what you might like to use. I like having all of these. So we are using these two books, The Reading Lesson and Teach Your Child to Read in 100 Easy Lessons with my daughter, flipping through the Ordinary Parent's Guide to Reading. I actually do like it. I think I might incorporate it just for random days or just for review or on a day when she feels like she'd like to get through something quickly and easily and without too much effort. I don't think I'm going to be using Phonics Pathways. It's not really our style, though I do like the word lists at the end. So it might be a really good book if you just want to practice fluency or see fluency with your child and see how easily the words are coming to them. I like the word lists in that one a lot. So they all have merit. They're all very different. I will tell you that I often see Phonics Pathways in a thrift store. So definitely keep an eye out at thrift stores for this one. I hardly ever see Teach Your Child to Read in 100 Easy Lessons, The Ordinary Parent's Guide to Teaching Reading, or The Reading Lesson, which is part of the reason that I got excited and I bought all of them when I saw them. But if you just want to get started with a really simple program, I think any one of these would be helpful for you. I think the least intimidating one is definitely The Reading Lesson. My daughter really likes it when I pull out this book. I think she likes that there's very little on a page. It has that familiar workbook type font and format, and she feels like she can do it immediately. This one I think is a little intimidating because your child does have to look at the page with all of these words. And I do think that this book would be a lot less intimidating to children if they moved each task onto a different page, which of course would make it very large. And The Ordinary Parent's Guide to Teaching Reading, if you use first language lessons with your child or if you've seen that, it has a very similar rhythm and pattern. All in all, they are all excellent books. You probably couldn't go wrong with any one of them. Good luck to everybody in teaching your child to read. I'm having a great time with it. I am so excited as I watch her grow in reading. As I said, my son taught himself, so while it was exciting, it just sort of all happened and I couldn't really take any credit for it. Whereas this is really one of the best things I think I've ever done in my life, is teaching my daughter to read. So as always, thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please don't forget to hit the thumbs up and the red subscribe button down below. I wish you a wonderful day.